Hello and welcome to Newsmakers for this Thursday, November 21st, 2024. I'm Louie Butko, and thanks for joining us on today's show. Very pleased to be joined by the CEO of the Hamilton Chamber of Commerce, Greg Dunnett. Greg, always great to see you, buddy.
Louie, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. You actually happen to be in the building for an unrelated sales event, so I grabbed you and I said, "Hey, let's do this podcast."
Sometimes the world works in mysterious ways.
That's the way it works. I had nobody lined up, and thankfully Greg Dunnett walked in, and I said, "Hey, you can be on the show today."
Little do you know, I've been lurking outside for about 3 weeks waiting for
Just
you.
waiting
Ever
for
since
this
Hamilton
chance.
Day, Louie.
Speaking of, let's talk Hamilton Day. Last year we got you on pre-Hamilton Day. We're talking about an event that goes back 100 years to celebrate local businesses each year, especially under your stewardship as CEO. It's grown bigger and better. A full weekend of events this year for Hamilton Day, but tell us a little bit about how this year went.
Yeah, it was, I think that was the last time I was here. And it was a fantastic event. And the event continues to grow, and the programming continues to grow. And I think there's so many positives to talk about on it. We're creating over $8 million in economic impact in the community, 1,000 businesses participating, and a significant portion of them have increased spends compared year over year. So it's a day that has kind of taken on a life of its own, and now it's a weekend that's taken on a life of its own. And it's also just I think what I like is kind of the nuance of some of it, or where it's like you walk by someone, they go, "Happy Hamilton Day," right? So
Yeah.
It's become something that has transcended the chamber, but that civic pride that I know when I interviewed, that was a really important part of my interview, kind of why would I be good at this role? Because I love this community. I think there's so much opportunity in this community. And so I think Hamilton Day is a great way for us to showcase it, to support our local business community, and to have a little fun along the way.
We'll talk a little bit about BIAs, more specifically, including downtown BIAs and the need for specific ones, especially when it comes to all the exciting stuff happening downtown. But that's the one thing I think that really stuck out to me in our chats and in experiencing Hamilton Day, is that there are a lot of community BIAs, right,
Yeah.
across the city. I'm sure you could tell me the exact number, but it really is all hands on deck effort. There's got to be challenges that come with that, but what did you find this year?
Yeah, what I really like about Hamilton is a very interesting model in that it's our BIAs and then individual market makers who kind of help facilitate the event. So we are the marketing and promotion. We run the concert series, but we also highlight and celebrate major programming going on throughout the city, concert series, the Road to Hope Marathon, and I'm going to say there are 11 BIAs. That I hope I did not fail that test. And they all participate, and they're all great partners, and then they run their own programming. And again, those are districts in our community that have a concentration of businesses, and providing those supports for them, and then also bringing a little entertainment into them is what we're able to do through Hamilton Day. So,
speaking of Chamber of Commerce events, what other events have you got on the go, and what should either, whether it's individual businesses or business people in the community, where should they go for the info?
Yeah, I'll start with that one so I don't forget. HamiltonChamber.ca. HamiltonChamber.ca. If we do a quick look back, we just had about 50 of our downtown business community leaders come together, and we provided them some key updates about ongoings in the core and in the community. Brought in a partner from the president, CEO of the St. Thomas Chamber of Commerce, Paul Jenkins, came in and talked to us about St. Thomas has done some really interesting work with their unhoused population, and they've actually decreased their unhoused population by 30%, I believe. And again, we'll fact check this one as well as the 11 BIAs.
Yeah, I got you.
That they're the only community in Ontario who has done that. So Paul kind of talked about how the business community has played a role in supporting that in partnership with Inwell, who are a great partner here in Hamilton, and working in close conjunction with their City Hall. So that was a great event, and then that helps us. We're going through a strategic planning process, so hearing from our business directly about where they see opportunities for us to make sure we advocate for economic prosperity in our community, because as we go from 550 to 850,000 people in the next 25 years, we need to make sure we got the high-paying jobs that will support that population growth. We look a little bit ahead on December 3rd at Tim Hortons Field in the early afternoon. We're going to have a tourism summit, and so my background as yours has a lot of sports and entertainment in it, and it's one of my favorite things because I love, much like Hamilton, I love talking about the positive in this community, and I think there is so much of it. We often can get, and especially in a role like this, you can get caught up in all the things that aren't going our way. So when I look at tourism, I think there's so much opportunity there. We're based on where we're located. We've got the new arena coming into the downtown core. I think there's going to be some really interesting and fascinating opportunities. We've got Tom Pistori from Oakview Group coming to the event. We've got Kyle Ferguson, who is the director of, I'm going to make up Kyle's title here, but director of programming for Oilers Entertainment Group. So they
Newly named.
Yeah. So they just, in 2017, they opened a new arena, and then they've had this massive community build up around the arena. So Kyle's going to come in and talk about how they take those major musical acts and they monetize it throughout the community. We're also going to look at how we transition nature tourism and also continuing to build a strong nighttime economy. So I think we've all seen the benefits when you go to a super crawl and you feel safe in our downtown. So how do we make sure you feel that way every night when you go into our downtown? Because that's going to help all of our businesses in our downtown and throughout our entire community.
Let's talk about that. The Commons roundtable on Monday. It was dubbed a hopeful vision for renewing our community. Like you said, stakeholders from across, basically no city representation other than the Hamilton police there being on board, and we'll talk about that in just a second. There was a lot of talk about the need for businesses downtown to bring workers back to the office, and just having a very, businesses downtown are so crucial, but having employees there to spend their money. Can you talk about what the push is to get more employees and more people downtown right now?
Well, I think, listen, we all know there's been a changing mindset to working from home than there was as few as 5 years ago. There's definitely a correlation between the lack of people in our core and thus the less people. It's the theory being that if there's people there, it's less likely that bad things are going to happen, right? And I mean, you can look at something like a super call, or if we go back 2 times in the last few years, Grey Cup festivals. When there weren't those issues in the core because there's that density of population in the core. So it's a nuanced issue, right? I think we would benefit from it. You also. There's organizations are still finding success with having people at home. So the world is changing quickly under our feet, Louie.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The police were there, and the one thing they emphasized was everybody wants a safe downtown. Yeah. Everybody wants a safe downtown. We had PJ Mercanti on here a few weeks ago. He talked about the work that's being done from a business perspective, from a Chamber of Commerce perspective. What are those conversations like with stakeholders, like businesses and police, and at times the city downtown to make it a safer, easier, more accessible place to be?
Yeah, I talk about this a lot. So my background, I built customer service programs for Tim Hortons Field, and I also was out in Edmonton for the opening of Rogers Place. And both of our customer service programs started with the letter S, and that S stood for safety. Because when you go to your football game or your hockey game, the first thing, if you don't feel safe, then you tend to remove yourself from that environment. So that's why it's so important. The police have Chief Bergen and his team. They've got the core patrol in the downtown. There's a noticeable, people feel safer. There's evidence that is creating a safer environment. And so on top of the increases of theft and damage, businesses are, they want their customers to be able to feel safe coming down into the area where to buy their wares, as they say. Yeah.
Let's talk about the Commons, because it is this time next year we'll be talking about an opening date. We'll be talking about an opening act. Things are moving quickly with the Commons. World-class facility is going to be right there in the downtown core. From a Chamber of Commerce perspective, what's the excitement level at the Commons?
So
Or the downtown arena
Yeah.
project is what I should start with.
Yes.
Obviously, that being the renovation, the commons. Now, again, I use those two terms too loosely. I would admit sometimes the downtown arena project is basically a precursor for what they have as a bigger vision for the commons. So let's talk about the downtown arena. Excuse me. Your excitement about that update.
Yeah, I've got firsthand experience in this. So we ran, I forget, we had 130 events in the first year of Rogers Place in Edmonton, 40 Oilers game, 40 Oil King games, and 40 or 50 major contests. Actually, I think we got about 50 Oilers games, which was fun. It's the first time they made the playoffs in 11 years. Always fun. And what was the concerts is there's an energy, and you make a night out of it, right? So there's these ripple effects that I think that's what really gets me excited about this is we're going to see that. We're going to see that you come in and, well, we're seeing it right now in Toronto. And again, obviously this is the biggest one in the world, but let's point to Taylor and an entire economy built around the show. But a Keith Urban, Rage Against the Machine, whoever you're bringing, those are nights out for people. And they make that spend and they come in early. They go out for dinner, they go to the show, they go out after, they stay in a hotel. And so that impact and economic activity that comes from a concert and the level of acts that they're talking about bringing into the venue are going to spur that opportunity. It's going to be amazing. I'm very, very excited for it.
Why is PJ the right guy to be leading this project?
I mean, again, I think we look around the community, and the Mercantis have been hosting entertainment venues for, and have been leaders in entertainment for generations now. So they're in good hands at Carmen's Group and Hugh Peg and across the board. And I'm going to try and 2023 CEO of the Year at the Hamilton Chamber of Commerce. So we'll give them that kudo too. So.
We'll fact check that one too. Now, when we talk about downtown, obviously the downtown arena project is part of a precursor to the Commons area that we've seen. What are some of the issues right now that would maybe slow things down? Because I was talking to somebody about. I think it was PJ or Lou Fraporti who was talking about it. There's not a BIA that's representing some people downtown. What needs to happen to really make this development, this project run smoothly? Yeah,
I think that's a great question. So, we can look out, 15, 20 years from now, an LRT running through the downtown, moving people throughout our community, those major acts coming in. There's just all the new builds, right, and the continued builds. And again, I think that's what we're going to see. And that's why we keep prioritizing a nighttime economy, because when you have that level of people living in our downtown core, they're going to go out and they're going to spend their Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, as well as their Friday, Saturday night in the downtown core. So in terms of, I think we've kind of touched on a lot of the issues we're facing right now. I think there's concerns around safety. We still... That brand we talked about in Hamilton Day, I'm not sure is our external brand always as a community. So making sure that we transition the messaging around the safety of our downtown. I think that's really important too, because perception and reality when it comes to safety are often the same thing. You're not going to, whether you are unsafe or not, you are not going to choose to go to a place where you perceive it to be unsafe. And I think that's where we're at risk right now. So that is why things like the event last week, the Downtown Roundtable we hosted, I've got another invite. The voice to make positive change and to transform our downtown positively is so strong in our community right now, because we can all see a utopian future, but it's going to take some steps to move us in that right direction and not further away from it. I'll challenge you and say, we all, I think that being the stakeholders, I think, yes, there's still a lot of people in this community who I feel will maybe never have that pride, or will always be hesitant to go downtown. How do you get those people to have some pride in their city, and B, get them downtown? That's a heavy question, Louie. Civic pride. Let's start on civic pride, because Hamilton Day, I think, is a great example. It's a great celebration, as we mentioned. It's one weekend, though. How can we get that civic pride 365 days a year? Yeah. How can we push that? I think you do have to make these commitments, right? we're all very well aware that there's an ease to going onto your computer, clicking and having something show up at your door 2 days later. But the importance of shopping local go into those things like sustainability and supporting your neighbors, and the fact that those organizations are going to invest in your kids' hockey team or baseball team or football team or dance team. I'll stop naming teams now.
You're just going through what you have to do this week. You're just looking at the calendar right now in your head, being like, there's dance practice, hockey practice,
No kidding. And you're gonna get me off track here. So I think those are the important things. I think that there's I've used this term before. I think there's a lot of people in this community. It's a little bit like a family in the mindset of, you say things like, I'll say something bad about my aunt or uncle, but nobody else is allowed to, right? So we did, and again, I had the privilege of running Grey Cup in 2021. You saw that civic pride, and I mean that energy down at the stadium as we were all walking in and hopeful that we were going to win our first Grey Cup since '72 on home soil, and came inches away from that. I think that's what we got to do, and not in any case. I don't think we don't want to listen to the vocal minority. I think there's a real civic pride that runs through this community, and I think that it's imperative that we create opportunities to celebrate that.
Let's talk maybe an issue that's affecting small businesses across the country, but here in Hamilton as well, that being the Canada Post strike. What are you hearing from businesses? What kind of supports will they need? And obviously we talk about shopping local. What would you recommend to businesses and consumers when it comes to this strike?
Well, I'm going to get in trouble for telling you this if my wife listens to it. I'm actually okay with the postal strike right now because her credit card got compromised, and so right before Christmas she doesn't have a credit card.
Wow.
So that's actually,
so everything's got to be,
exactly. We're gonna, probably
no surprises.
Least expensive Christmas ever in the Dunnett household. I think we're seeing also talk about the port strikes and the movement of goods through this country. It's very important that people be able to access product. But again, I think to your point, if you're concerned about getting your gifts, take that extra time, go out on your Saturday afternoon and head down to a local store and make that investment in our local community.
I was thinking about this on the way in, because I was flipping through radio stations. I heard Christmas music. When is too early for Christmas music?
Again.
For you? You're going to get in trouble here.
Well, there's Christmas music. I'll just say this. There's Christmas music on in my house.
Okay.
Right now. But not I've always used American Thanksgiving as my trigger, because that's when the football starts on the Thursday. Well, that back in the day, and on the Thursdays, that was usually the Grey Cup week too. So that was always my flip. But according to several members of my house, Hamilton Day and Halloween, anytime after Halloween.
Okay.
So let's say sometime in November. Again, I think we got to look at American Thanksgiving, because if we go Black Friday, that's definitely a holiday sale. So I would still use that as my trigger point. But you know what? If you want to bring a little joy and celebrate into your life, Louie, a little earlier, then I'm all for it.
Listen, I will admit I came across a Christmas station, and I may have listened to a few tunes just to get in the spirit.
What's your favorite Christmas song or Christmas movie? Let's go Christmas movie.
My favorite Christmas movie? Christmas Vacation.
Yeah,
of course. That's a classic. Favorite Christmas song? That's a good one. I don't know. They're all kind of blend into one. Like, I like the Bublé Christmas album's not bad. I like that.
All right.
What are you optimistic about heading into 2025? What gives you optimism when it comes to this city and what's going on in this city?
Yeah, I think we've touched on a lot of it today, right? I believe strongly that there's so much opportunity in this community. There's the steps have been taken on LRT. LRT is making progress. That's the amount of investment that comes into our community because of that. That's amazing. I'm excited about downtown and the arena project. I'm excited about the fact that we continue to just be incredibly well located for future growth, and I'm excited for next year's Hamilton Day. That will be even bigger and better, as well as all the other program we have. But it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day down cycle, but I look at so many of the opportunities, and I know there's so many people who want those opportunities to come to fruition that I'm very optimistic that we'll start to make that progress towards it.
Listen, I think the right people are in the right roles to see this Hamilton generation through, and you're one of them. And you know, you and I go way back, way back. We talk about those Ticats days.
Lot less grays.
Yeah, well, you can speak for yourself on that one.
That's true.
Maybe it was a little shorter. I don't think the mustache was as pronounced. But Greg Dunnett, thanks for making the time today. I really appreciate it.
I always appreciate it too, my friend. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, absolutely. He's Greg Dunnett. He's the CEO of the Hamilton Chamber of Commerce. My thanks to him for joining me, and my thanks to you as well. And hey, while you're here, make sure you like and subscribe to CHCH Podcast so you never miss an episode of this show or any of the other great shows we have for you, including Sportsline with Bubba O'Neill, which you can download wherever you downloaded this one. Just go to chch.com/podcast or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. I want to thank Justin Peeler for directing today's episode, and one more time, thank you for tuning in. From all of us here at CHCH, I'm Louie Butko. Have a great day.